Hey, this is Adam Torres, and I'm here to tell you that it has never been easier to start your very own podcast. At Mission Matters, our goal is to amplify stories that matter. That means we want to help you start your podcast because your story matters. We can do this in 3 different ways. 1, join our podcast school and take a free or paid course. 2, visit our resources page where we've already figured out what you need, such as where to host your podcast. Or 3, heck, we can even do everything for you through our podcast agency, including editing for cheaper than you can do in-house. Oh, and no contracts, service is month to month. Get started by heading over to missionmatters.com and click on Start a Podcast. All right, now let's get into the show. Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of the Mission Matters Marketing Podcast, your source for all things marketing. My name is Adam Torres. You can follow me on Instagram at AskAdamTorres. Keep up with my book releases, book tour schedule, signings, all that other good stuff. Always love to connect with you there. And as always, if you'd like to apply to become a co-author of one of my upcoming books, just head on over to the website, missionmatters.com, and click on Become an Author to apply. All right, so today is a very special Reunion 2020 episode. What is that? That's when I had a guest on in the past, and I liked him so much I had to invite him right on back. So today's special return guest is Jeff Policard, who's CEO and President over at Cool Ideas Marketing. Jeff, welcome to the show.
Hello, Adam. Thank you so much for having me again. I had so much fun last time, and I'm anticipating that this time we'll have even more fun. So thank you for having me.
Oh, man. So, hey, I'm excited to break this news today. So I know you just recently launched your new podcast, the Getting Social podcast. So we're going to get into that. I want to talk about the content, show format, all that good stuff, because I definitely want my listeners to go check it out. But before we do that, for those that weren't able to catch your first episode, for all our new listeners, let's go into what you're doing over at Cool Ideas Marketing. Tell us a little bit more about your company, please.
All right. Well, Cool Ideas Marketing, we just actually celebrated our 6th-year anniversary, and what we
Congrats. Hold on. You can't glance over that. 6 years is a big deal. Most businesses, unfortunately, don't make it to 5. So congrats on the 6, man. Good job.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate that. And yeah, man, what we do is we help businesses and professionals optimize their presence online. I know it could mean a lot of different things, but what the process is what really makes us different. We actually start by a diagnosis. So just like any doctor, when you go see your doctor or any specialist, then the first thing that they do is usually diagnose you for them to know and have a better idea on how to treat you. So we do the same thing. We start with an evaluation process that goes really deep into your overall presence online, measuring key metrics like your listing, your reputation management, I would say, your digital ads, your social presence, of course, very important, and your website performance, including SEO. So that way you know where you are and you could let us know where you want to go, or we can also obviously give you ideas on where we could take you. So that's kind of like how we approach on the Cool Ideas side. And obviously with me at the helm, I'm a very creative guy, and I usually help my clients with personal branding. I help them a lot with their content creation and how to stand out. The reason why I emphasize on stand out is because, we've all scrolled down like on social media. We all do it all day long, really, without even realizing it's becoming part of our, basically subconscious habits of just scrolling for no reason. And what really makes you stop, pause, and take a closer look to whatever that piece of content is about is how it stands out. It could be the colors, it could be the shapes, it could be the quote, it could be the image, it could be a bunch of different things. But what we take pride in is trying to find creative ways for your company to stand out.
Man, that's awesome. I love it. And I think that's a great transition. So let's dive, speaking of standing out, let's dive right into this podcast. So the Getting Social podcast. So first off, what was the inspiration for this?
Well, I've had the idea, last time I was on the show with you, actually, it kind of sparked my curiosity. I started looking into podcasts because I really appreciated what you do and what you did, for me and putting me, in front of your audience. And I was like, man, this is something that I would probably really enjoy doing for a couple of reasons. Because first, being in marketing, I think it's something very important to have those conversations. Marketing is actually about communication, at least in my opinion. So it's great to communicate about, current events, especially when it relates to business, entrepreneurship. So that's when the idea really started to kind of like formulate in my mind. And then this year, 2020, I said I would for sure launch my podcast as one of my goals. And when the pandemic hit, I was like, okay, well, if I don't do it now, where I'm at home for the most part and have, I'm going to put these in quotation marks, extra time, because in reality, not really, because my two kids are living at home with me and taking all of that time. But at least you're home and you're a little bit more flexible and you're able to kind of like pivot and think through your strategies on how you can reposition yourself. And one of the ways that I thought was a perfect timing and a perfect way was to create the podcast. And this is how it came about. And I'm 11 episodes deep, basically. So.
Wow, that's awesome. Well, first off, congrats on that. That's awesome, and not an easy thing to do. Let's give the audience a little bit of a feel for the content and what they can expect, because I want them to go check it out. So tell us a little bit more about the content that you're putting out.
Absolutely, man. Well, I've had a wide range of guests so far, especially in the beginning, the first few episodes, where we were just in the middle of the pandemic. Or I should say right in the beginning of the pandemic, where it was still new to us. And I was interviewing business owners and professionals on how they were adapting to the new reality that we're all facing. And obviously with virtual meetings and being a topic, and networking was being different since the pandemic, obviously. And also lately, I would say the past 4 or 5 episodes, I've been talking a little bit more about our responsibilities as entrepreneurs outside of obviously growing your business. I do believe that as entrepreneurs, we have access to a platform that a lot of people don't, and using that platform, leveraging that platform to do good, basically to help others as much as possible, to shed light on specific topics that, that makes us better, because I really think that we have a duty outside of growing our business to influence others, empower others. So we've been talking a lot about that, and also about just entrepreneurship, using social media, using digital marketing to not only better your presence, but also how to leverage that presence to empower others.
So, you're 11 episodes deep. Depending on somebody listens, there may be many more episodes deep. So far, what's been one of your favorite stories and or episodes? And I know it's a terrible question. It's like asking to choose between your kids, what's your favorite? But I don't care. I do it anyway. So what's one of your favorite? What are one of your favorite episodes so far?
It's funny you asked that, man. Like this morning, I shared a quote from one of my favorite episodes. And the quote said, well, not verbatim, but basically what it means is that to put your oxygen mask on first before you can help others. So I had a life coach and licensed therapist as a guest, and we were talking about ways for us to cope with the pandemic, staying at home, the stress levels being higher, and also being basically thinking that we have the extra time, but not really, and how to take care of yourself so you can be better for your kids that are at home, because now you're not only their parents, you're also their teachers, being at home with your spouse, how you can be better for them. And she shared 5 amazing tips that we could all use pre-pandemic, during pandemic, post-pandemic. And we've gotten a lot of good feedback because of that, because a lot of people were in the same situation. So if I had to single one out, that would be it. But there's also, a Black Lives Matter episode that I put out, with somebody that, saw me on Facebook and asked me if he could use my platform to talk about certain things that he knows as a historian, and why this thing is so important to talk about. And this is where the part of the podcast came about having entrepreneurs being having a heavier load than just to grow their business, and having a duty to speak out. So that's where it came about, actually, from that episode. And and I guess my new favorite is gonna be my next one.
Oh, that good answer. That's a good one. So Jeff, so if somebody's listening to this, so final question, 2-part question. If somebody's listening to this and they want to learn more about Cool Ideas Marketing and your podcast, I mean, first off, what's typically the right type of person and or company that's a good fit to work with you and your team? Number one. Number two, what's the best way for them to reach out?
Great question, man. I get that question pretty often. And people that want to develop their online brand, their personal brand, and improve their presence online, talking about professionals, lawyers and tax accountants and on the medical side, dentists, doctors, plastic surgeons that are looking to optimize their presence because now everything is online. Everything is online, and there's a stat that stands out, and I want everybody to even write this down. People that look at your social media before making a buying decision will spend 4 times as much as someone who does not. The reason is because there's a trust factor that develops once they check out your social, having more of an intimate experience with you, therefore allowing them to be more flexible to spend more. So that's something that I definitely strongly suggest that everybody takes a very, very deep, I would say, thought process into developing, which is their social presence. And to find me, I think the best way is to look up my personal website, jeffpolicard.com. That's JEFF, as in Peter, OLICARD.com. And the reason is because there you can find my business. You can learn a little bit more about my podcast. You can book a call with me for a complimentary strategy call right there. So I think that's probably the best website to keep it simple.
Man, that's awesome. Well, Jeff, really appreciate you coming back on the show and sharing more about your background, all the great stuff you're doing. Congrats again on the podcast. Really excited about that. Want my listeners to go check that out. And to the audience, as always, thank you for tuning in. Hope you got a lot of value out of this. If you did, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast, leave a review on the Apple iTunes Store. And if you're watching this on our YouTube channel, Mission Matters Marketing, definitely give us a subscribe there, but also leave us some comments on the video. Love to know what kind of projects and things that you're working on. And Jeff, thanks again for coming on the show.
Thank you, Adam. Really, really appreciate you, man. Thank you.